Hey, welcome back to another Ozzstar's Today's Fun project. Well, today we're going to be doing the front brake pads replacement on this 2018 Corvette Grand Sport. And if you've seen my 500-mile break-in oil change that I did because of the dry sump system a couple of weeks ago, you're probably wondering, how did he get that many miles on there that fast? Well, I didn't, and I'm going to tell you what it is. Right now the car has about 610 miles on it, and what I can't take anymore with these Brembo pads is the brake dust. The amount of dust is just crazy. Even after 50 miles, you come back, the car's clean, but the wheels are just orange, rusty, black dust everywhere. So basically, I'm going to swap out the pads. It's real easy on this car, front and back on these C7s. You don't even need to take the caliper off. I'll show you, there's a couple of pins that come out. I'll give you all the tips and tricks. And I'm going to go with the Hawk pads. I'm going to go with these PC Performance Ceramics. This is model HB649. Z605. And the reason I'm going with Hawk, now they didn't pay me, they didn't send me these, I wish they would have, they're a little bit pricey, but behind us here under the cover is at my 93. Some of you guys may have seen that video where I replaced the front pads on that. Now that had just regular standard GM pads, it doesn't have Brembos, but the dust was really bad. Well, when I upgraded to the centric rotors and the Hawk, now that was the blue box, the HP High Performance. Those pads have worked terrific. I put on thousands of miles on that car and it works great. Yes, I do drive my Corvettes. They're not just garage queens. But anyway, I'm not sure if I'll get the back pad filmed or whatever, but as far as time. But I'll definitely show you the tips and tricks up front here. It's really simple. And if you have a Grand Sport, which is a 17, 18, or 19 C7 model, Z06 is going to have the Brembos. And if you have a base Stingray with the Z51 brake suspension upgrade, you're going to have Brembos. So that's going to apply. These same pads will work for all those cars. Anyway, let's get down below. We'll pop the wheel up. I'm going to jack up the car. I won't bore you with that part. I do have the video on how to properly jack a C7 Corvette up. I'll also leave that down below. And if you need more information on these pads, I'm also going to leave a link to the Hawk pads down there. And hopefully they will stop well, as the saying goes, stop on a dime and give you 9 cents change. I know these Brembos do, so I'm hoping the Hawks do. Even if it's only 8.5 cents and less dust, I'll take it. So let's get down there and check it out. Alright, got a 19 millimeter here. Proper torque specs on these. Take your time, be careful. You don't want to scratch your wheel. You know how those Corvette guys are. Alrighty. These wheels are pretty heavy for what they are. Even though they're aluminum, they're still pretty heavy. There's a lot of tire here. There's a lot of meat. We'll get this out of the way. So I've got you zoomed in on the right front caliper. There's 2 pins. There's one here and one here. We're going to drive those out that way. Then there's this center pin. You could call it, or bridge pin, I guess you could call it. It's a bolt set up. So there's a 13 mil on the back. We'll take that off. And then you've got your tension spring right here that holds all that in. So basically the pins hold the pressure onto the pad. It's anti-vibration. If you don't know, most brake squealing is caused by pads that vibrate at a high frequency. So that's when you hear a squealing pad, usually that's what it is. I mean, obviously it could be rubbing on the rotor. But we're just going to pop that out. I'm going to turn the wheel to the left now so you can get a better view. And let's get to it. Alright, so what I want to do first is remove this bridge pin bolt right here. So there's a 13 millimeter bolt on the back. It's a small one. And you can just use a regular hand ratchet if you don't have one of these power battery ratchets. But take that bolt out. It comes right out. It's a shorty. It's this little guy right here. Set that aside. I'll give you the torque specs for that in a second. Now don't panic. Once you get this pin loose, you're thinking, oh man, it's not going to come out. So what you need to do is right in here, right in this area, you just want to pry back a little bit and this is going to pop out. If you're afraid to scratch your caliper, put a little rag there and just give it some pressure and a twist. And you should hear it pop like that right there. So I just pushed it out and that'll get you all the way out like this. Okay, so that comes out. That's easy enough. And then let me show you how to get these pins out. Now what I use is, I use this punch. You're probably not going to see it on camera, but it's kind of hollowed out a little bit in the middle, in the center. We're going to use that just so you can get on the end of these and just get them started. And then I'll show you what I use to finish it up. So hopefully my finger's not in your way. And they move pretty easily. Remember, don't scratch the paint. Jeez, you don't want anybody getting hyper. Somebody could have a heart attack. You scratch their caliper paint. But they move fairly easy. Then I'll finish it up with this punch. This is probably like an 1/8 inch straight punch. And you could use any straight piece of metal. And then I just drive it right out. So usually I'll just take the top and then the bottom. Doesn't matter which way you do it. And then once they get loose like that, you can just push down on your spring. It takes a little bit of force there. There you go. And it comes right out. So there's that. And they're dry. There's no grease or anything on those. So that's the top one. Here's the bottom one. They're the same pin. You don't have to worry about mixing them up. And then here's your spring. So that goes in this way. So you got these little tabs back here. Here's the, the rivets. See the rivets? There's 2 here. Well, you can see the flat side is on the back. So these go in. This is how you want to put it back in this way. And the hole here is at the bottom. So there's a hole there, that way you'll know it's down. Of course, it's the same on the other side. So with the pins out, it's simple enough. You can just pull back on these. Actually, I like to push back on these pads a little bit, try to push the piston in a little bit. Now, since this only has 600 miles, hopefully the new pads will slip right in. But let me just wiggle one of these out. If you can't, for some reason, get it out, what you can do is put a screwdriver or another pin in here and just yank through these holes here, yank it out, straight out like that. So they come right out. There's plenty of meat there. And the only place that I see the factory grease their pads, because you do want to use some silicone grease, is right here on this edge. Like right here on this edge and this edge right here. They didn't have any on the center. I'll probably just put a little bit on the new one. You can see where they go, hopefully. Yeah, there you go. You see the rings. So that's where your pistons are. You got a 6-piston caliper. 3 here and 3 on this side. So this is the inner one. Take note of where the, this is called a squealer down here. So if your pads get super low, the squealer will rub against the rotor, start squealing, telling you need brakes. By then it's too late. You probably need a rotor too. So you need more than pads. So that's the inner, and that squealer was down at the bottom. Here's the outer pad. Wiggle this sucker out. There we go. This one, the squealer is at the top, and basically, I'll show them to you here. So the pads are exactly the same except for where the position of the squealer is. Here's your squealer here. Here's your squealer there. Let's get the new ones in. So you got your new pads and your squealer, you're doing the inside is down, and this thing won't fit in. It's too tight, right? So here's what you're going to do, because I show you the real deal here. You watch other people's brake job videos on this, and it's like, oh, you just slip them right in. Okay, here we go. So anyway, I take a pry bar and a piece of rubber or something just to protect the rotor. And then what I use is I got an old brake pad here. This is like off a Nissan or something. Anyway, it goes to show you. I mean, look at the difference here in pad size. So these are from the front. Anyhow, I'll set this in here against, these are the, hopefully, yeah, you can see them here. There's a piston here, there's one here, and then there's one down here. And of course, these 3 are, you can't see. But I'll set this in here. Then with pressure, I'll hold it with my pry bar against the piston. And then I'll take my piece of, whatever protector and against the rotor right here. And I'll just pull towards me. So that will push, you don't have to get crazy on it. But that'll put pressure on the piston to drive it that way back in. And then that'll give you the room to slide your pad in. So let me put a little grease on this, a little silicate grease. I use this stuff right here. I like this. This is Silaramic. This works really good. I've had good luck with it. And I'm just going to put a little bit on there, and then I'll show you how to pop it in. All right, just a little bit, little dab will do you. Don't get crazy. Just put a little smear right there, and a little smear back here. It's just like they did it in Italy. right? Brembos are made in Italy. I put a little smear on the back. You can see where the rings on the original here are matching up. So, not necessary, but that's what I like to do. And of course, it's on the edges. I showed you that. Wipe off any excess. And we're going to pop this bad boy in right now. And what you want to do is just take these two holes, this one here and this one up here, and just line them up with that. So they should fit in now pretty easily. So you just kind of set them in place right there for now. Get the other side on, and you're ready to put everything back together. Let's set this outer pad in. Squealer's up the top. Okay, we got to spread her out. All right, so I did the same thing here. I put my old pad in. If you don't have an old brake pad, you can just use a piece of steel, just something that's flat that you can put pressure against. Push that back just a little bit, and now my pad should go in, which it just did perfectly. All right, I'm going to put the bridge pin in right now. So I actually just put this in. I'll put it in dry. Doesn't need any lube. Just set it right in place there. Should slide all the way in, sitting flat here. Take your 13mm bolt, and you want to tighten this up now. The torque on this is right about 22 pound-feet. So tighten that down to 22 pound-feet. You're good to go. There's a little divot in the center, but I put a tiny little bit of brake grease on these. Very little smear there, not much. And you put this in like this. I showed you how this one goes with the hole down at the bottom there. So slip that in there. You can put a little bit of grease here if you want, but I don't do that. And let's just line everything up now. So get that started. Put this here. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. That's it. So I just get that one started, then I'll push down here. It's not hard at all. I mean, people, oh, it's so tricky. It's really not tricky. You see how I just did it. I'm not doing any magic. Then I'll take a soft-faced mallet, and what you're going to do is just drive these in flush. So use that, and then you'll see the pin come all the way through. Let me zoom you in here. Let's get you on there so you can see. You can just see the tapered part just come out. So on the back here, that's all the way flush. Same thing on the bottom. Let's show you in action. Here we go right here. You can see where that pin is barely out. And I'm going to give it a little tappy tap. So this just has, like I say, the nylon hammer so you don't damage anything. That's it. That's going to sit in there with pressure. The ends of those pins have a little, like a little pressure clip kind of deal. Then I'll just wipe any excess grease or, not grease, but fingerprints or dust off. And after all, it is a Corvette. You better wipe down the prints. Somebody might get mad at you. If you want, you can take some light sandpaper or Scotch-Brite and just clean up your rotors a little bit if they have some miles on them. These, it doesn't have much on it. Not going to mess with it. And all we need to do now is just straighten out the wheel. We'll put the tire back on, mount the wheel on. Alright, so it's time to wrap this up. The job's pretty simple. The rears are even easier. They don't have that bridge pin with the bolt. So you just have the two pins. Just take note of how far the pins are sticking out so that after you do drive them out, change your pads and put them back in, you know how far to drive them in. I use a small punch with the hammer. It's a little tight back there, but it's definitely doable. Something else to note is, like, if you have a Ford Mustang or the Camaro that's you set up for performance, they may have the Brembo package, and you're getting this dusting action. You may want to definitely decide or make up your mind to change those pads out. It might be worth it. I mean, the three most important things to me anyway in pads is, one, are they going to be noisy? You don't want them squealing or squeaking. Dust is always an issue. Low dust, the better. And the other thing is your stopping power, which is pretty damn important. So I guess I'll take stopping power, noise, and then dust. So anyway, that's how that works. I appreciate you guys stopping by. Instagram, Ozzstar1. Right here on YouTube. If you haven't subscribed to me yet, please do so. I appreciate it. And if you have changed out the pads in your C7 Corvette, you know, got rid of the Brembos, let me know what you replaced them with and how you like the performance of the pad that you went with. So other than that, I guess I'll see you guys on the next one. One more thing I just want to add is you torque these wheels down on these Vettes. They're 100 pound-feet. So keep that in mind. Use that torque wrench. I've got a video coming up on that. And what else? Oh, the calipers. If you do have to remove the front caliper for whatever reason, those bolts, those 2 bolts that hold the whole caliper on, they get torqued on these cars to 162 pound-feet. So that's pretty tight. They're going to be tight, 162. And then in the rear, those 2 bolts would be torqued to 89 pound-feet. So just keep that in mind if you did have to take them off for whatever reason, you know, you're replacing rotors or doing whatever. Anyway, thanks for coming along. I appreciate it. I'll see you guys on the next one. Take it easy.